my motto, nothing's ever holding back.
Welcome back, everyone, to what is really a special episode. Not only is it the start of season 4 of the podcast, but it's also our birthday episode. That's right, the Lone Road iRacing podcast has officially turned another year older. It feels incredible to say that. When this started, it was just an idea I had, just me sitting down and thinking, could I make something for the iRacing community that's worth listening to? And here we are, kicking off season 4 with a growing audience, new goals, and some exciting changes to talk about. So grab your virtual race suit, buckle in, and let's take a lap together around what the last 12 months have brought us, where we're headed, and how you, the listeners and viewers, can play an even bigger part in shaping the podcast moving forward. The last year has been huge for the podcast. We've had 2 incredible interviews with some sim racing drivers and community members, and every single guest brought a unique perspective on iRacing and sim racing culture. We've explored everything from how to climb the iRacing ladder to the psychology behind competition to just plain fun, like debating which cars on tracks are worth your iRacing credits. The growth has been consistent and the conversations have gotten deeper. It really does feel like the community is growing tighter, and this podcast has become part of that weekly rhythm for many of you, the listeners and viewers. And honestly, that's the most rewarding part of it of all for me. We're going to look now at the most downloaded episodes of Season 3. So when I dug into the numbers of Season 3, 3 episodes really stood out in terms of downloads. At number 1 with 107 downloads was Season 3, Episode 9, Mastering the Basics, Beginner-Friendly Tracks and Boosting iRating and Safety Rating in iRacing. Such a long title, what was I thinking about? This one really took off though, and I think it's because every iRacer, no matter how long you've been around, sometimes needs to go back to basics. We all want to improve our iRating, and we all know the grind of protecting safety rating. This episode focused on the building blocks of consistency and smart racecraft, and clearly it hit home for a lot of listeners. In second place, just 1 download behind, was Season 3, Episode 17, Mind, Body and Sim, how iRacing shapes drivers inside and out, with 106 downloads. This one was a little bit different, less about setups and strategy and more about the human side of iRacing. We talked about how iRacing affects your mindset and physical habits, and even the way you think about focus and endurance. It's clear that many of you are just as interested in the mental and physical aspects of racing as you are in the technical side, which is a good subject for me because I'm passionate about mental health. And in third place, close behind, was Season 3, Episode 14, Maximising Week 13, Fun, Practice and Prep for Every iRacer, with 104 downloads. And this is virtually the perfect podcast to go and have a re-listen if you missed it this year. Now, this one makes total sense. Week 13 is always a wild time on iRacing, full of new content, fun races, and that mix of chaos and opportunity. Whether you use it to blow off steam, test drive new cars and tracks, or focus on weaker points of your skill set, there's something in it for everyone. And the fact this episode was in the top 3 tells me that people are always looking for tips on how to make the most of week 13. So looking at these results, there's a clear theme. Episodes that give you practical takeaways and help you improve, whether that's your skill on track, your mindset, or how you structure your time in iRacing. These are the ones you come back to the most. That's a big lesson for me as we step into Season 4. It tells me that while the big picture discussions are fun, the episodes that give you something can apply to your next race are the ones that resonate the most. So we're going to come back in a second and we're going to look at milestones that the podcast has hit over the last 12 months. One of the biggest moments of the past 12 months was hitting a huge milestone, 10,000 downloads for the podcast. That's a number I couldn't have imagined when I first launched the show. To know that so many people have tuned in, whether you're a weekly listener or somebody who just drops in for the topics that catch their eye or ear, means the world to me. And here's another fun insight. The region with the most downloads came from the United States. And the single city that topped the charts 1 second was Melbourne, Victoria. It just shows the global reach of iRacing and sim racing and how this podcast is connecting drivers from every corner of the world. Now, we're going to mention a few more. We're going to go to the countries now. So we have 47% of all the downloads are from the US. Well, bearing in mind this podcast is heavily biased towards road racing, for me that is a milestone and an amazing feat, I believe. Anyway, there's people interested, and you clearly are, on the topic of road racing. So I appreciate everybody in the USA. Please share the podcast more with your fellow iRacers. That's all I can ask. In second place with 12% is the UK and 8% in Australia. Then Canada, Sweden, Germany and Ireland. So you're in the top, 3, 6, in the top 8. Cities, I've already mentioned Melbourne, Victoria. Special shout out with you guys and girls with 344 downloads. Closely followed by Forest City, North Carolina. Clone, Meath with 280 downloads. Sydney, New South Wales with 253. Luleå, Norbotten County with 250. Ashburn, Virginia with 220. And then Iggleshoven in Limburg, folks, with 152. So I thought it meaningful, as you are my biggest listeners, to mention where you're from on the podcast. So please carry on listening, carry on watching and sharing with your fellow iRacers. I really do appreciate it. Now we're going to go on to something else now. So hopefully some of you have already noticed that the podcast title has had a subtle change. And the artwork that is on YouTube, which you can see, has had a bit of a refresh as well, especially the name. So I thought moving into Season 4 was a very good time to make these subtle but needed changes. I'm going to go into a little bit of a detail why, because I'm sure you want to know why has Guy changed the name of his podcast slightly, and why is the branding a little bit different? Well, the reason really is to make sure the podcast reflects not only what it's about, iRacing, but also what it represents in the community, growth and fun. The show will still bring you the deep dives, the racecraft tips, and the interviews, but you'll see a clearer identity in how we present ourselves. The goal is simple: make the podcast easier to find, easier to share, and more appealing for new listeners who might just be taking the first steps into iRacing. And we've all been there, folks, haven't we? Now, moving into a little bit about new segments coming in Season 4. And that comes with rebrand, you get new segments. So we're going to be introducing some practical tips so you can use straight away in your races, more community-driven questions and polls, and a spotlight on some of the less talked about parts of iRacing, from hidden gem tracks to underrated series. I'm also hoping to bring in more guests, not just from within iRacing, but hopefully from across the sim racing world, so we can broaden the conversations we're having. And realistically, I'm looking for feedback from you, the avid listeners and viewers. What subjects do you want? What subjects do you want me to talk about, research, and get out there on this podcast? Please send me some emails or leave me some sound bites on social media. And, I'm very happy to approach those topics, no matter how challenging or, hot off the press they may be. Now, we're going to come back in a second and we're going to talk about personal season results. All right, we're going to get a little bit personal now with my iRacing goals that I set at the start of the season. People might remember that I set myself some big challenges. One challenge was to hit 2K iRating in the sports car license, and in the Formula license get to 4K. Now, both of those were quite a challenge, but amazingly, I hit the 2K in the sports car license pretty quickly, actually, by the end of week 2. Amazingly, I found a new series, the Production Car Challenge. I'd never entered that series before, but I really took to it, and probably I raced that series probably for 4 weeks on the trot, various number of races, and I finished the season, and I'm not counting week 13 here, I'm just checking my phone, with an iRating of 2,153. So I'm very proud of that accomplishment. I let my sports car tin top license diminish slightly, and I wanted to get it back into some kind of respectable iRating, shall we say. Now we're going to move on to the open wheel Formula Racing 4K challenge. And how did that go? I can hear you all saying, well, up until the end of this week, which was on Oran Park for me in the Rookies FF 1600, I thought I was going to get there. I'd recently had a week off work and did a lot of races around lots of tracks. And then what really helped me push in the last 3 weeks was a back-to-back track, Mount Panorama, where the FIA F4 was on and also the FF 1600. And honestly, I think I gained getting on for nearly 800 iRating in those 2 weeks, just from those 2 cars on that track alone. So I was quietly confident that coming into Oran Park, which is another good track that I enjoy and I do well in, that I would crack the 4K. But I have to say, after early starts, and don't tell the wife, 4:45 yesterday morning on a Sunday morning, I was hitting the sim, trying to get over the 4K. And every time I got to 3.8 something, somebody took me out. So I lost over 100 points in about 2 races. So I got it all back, but I finished the season with 3,766. So I failed to hit my target, but I gave it a really, really good go. So through the season, of course, there is the ups and the downs, as there always are on iRacing, but the important part is the progress. And through the 12 weeks, I did manage to bag 19 wins for the season, which honestly I'll take as a big positive. Wins are never easy on iRacing, as we all know, and each one feels like a genuine achievement. So I've enjoyed the season. It's been a good challenge again, some of my favourite tracks, and some tracks that weren't there this season that I did well in last week. So bring it on. I'm going to set 4K again as my goal for next season. And I'm going to set myself for the sports car. We're going to go for 3K. So I've got nearly just shy of 800 IR to get in the sports car one. So less to gain in the formula, but more to gain in the sports car this season. So that's going to be a new challenge, folks. Now, we've just finished the new big development update that Greg shared, and I've done 2 podcasts on it now. But I heard something today on another podcast, and I can't remember reading about it or hearing about it on Greg's podcast, and I may be totally wrong. But looking ahead, one of the biggest changes for iRacing itself is that GT3 racing is going regional, just like the FIA F4 has been, with 30-minute race lengths. So that is a huge shift because iRacing has clearly recognised just how popular those F4 regionals are, and the GT3 drivers are about to get that same treatment. So I think it's going to be a massive improvement for participation and competition. Now, as for the podcast, I'm still looking for a co-host. I'm sure at times you're all sick of hearing my voice, and I want somebody to come and join me and share this wonderful journey we're on, as well as sponsors and future guests. So if you're listening and you think that sounds like you, or you know someone who might be fit, then get in touch. The new email that has been set up now for the podcast is the Lone Road iRacing podcast @gmail.com. Send an email, find me on social media, hit me up on Facebook or on Instagram if you're interested at all. Now, moving on to community engagement. So how can you, the listeners and viewers, get involved? And here's where I want you, I want to hear from you. Season 4 is about community-driven content. So what topics do you want me and us to cover? What cars or tracks should we spotlight? You want to come on the show and share your story as an iRacer. The best way to grow this podcast is us all together. So if you've got ideas, feedback, or just want to be part of the conversation, reach out to me on X, Facebook, or wherever you follow the show. Your voice could be the next one featured here. So there you have it, listeners and viewers. It's been a birthday celebration. I look back at Season 3, some honest reflections on my own iRacing journey, and a glimpse of what is to come in Season 4. I want to say once again a massive thank you to everybody who's tuned in, shared an episode, or sent me a message over the past year. This podcast exists because of you. So here's to more laps, more wins, and more conversations in the year ahead. Until next time, this has been the Lone Road iRacing podcast. That's going to take a while. And I'll see you on the track soon. Don't forget, look after yourselves in week 13 and go and re-listen to that podcast if you want to get the most out of week 13. Stay safe on the track. Happy iRacing.
Whatever it takes, we're racing. speed is my motto, nothing's ever holding back. Whatever it takes, we're racing.